Hey review family, keep it high, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, a review guy, and I'm dumbfounded. I'm back again to bring you another video. In this one I'm going to be covering the new Saor album, Forgotten Paths. I follow a lot of music forums, I follow a lot of labels, I follow a lot of producers and artists and bands, but it's always an upward struggle to try to retain all of the information of new releases that are upcoming, and a lot of times things in the underground can slip through the cracks, and from time to time I really do enjoy covering some great releases that I find. Some of those albums even made my in-year list last year. I'm talking about bands like Poem, I'm talking about bands like Wolftooth, and bands like Hedinger. I gotta give it to my subscriber, Bruno Montoya. Thank you so much for the suggestion for this album, and I'm forever in your debt. Saor was formed in 2013. It's a one-man project by Andy Marshall. He is from Glasgow, Scotland, I'm pretty sure. Formed in 2013, this is his fourth studio-length album under the Saor name. He also released a compilation back in, I believe, 2015, and yeah, this is his fourth studio-length album. You know, going into this album, I knew it was a black metal album with some folk metal influences, and I was like, okay, what's this gonna be like? I'm probably not gonna like it, because in the past, based on track record, there are a lot of black metal bands that try to infuse folk metal, or, to be honest, a lot of the black gaze movement as well, black metal plus shoegaze music, and the meeting of the minds don't work. They seem like they could be compatible, but they're done in such a phony way that it either feels imbalanced, or it feels phoned in, or it feels disingenuine, or the instrumentation doesn't work well together, or the vocals don't fit, or it feels too bloated. There are so many factors that go into a lot of the reasons that I'm usually not able to enjoy projects by these bands. Not the case here. Not the case here. Not the case! Forgotten Paths is kind of more of an EP, if you really want to count it that. 4 tracks. 38 minutes. And this is the first time when I can say that the balance of two genres, specifically folk metal and black metal, come together to create a tapestry that is such a formidable, admirable release that is electrifying, that is heartwarming, that is gut-wrenching, that is blood-pumping, that is blood-boiling, that is stomach-churning, that is mind-bogglingly amazing from start to finish. This is my favorite album that I have heard this year so far. Don't get me wrong, Swallow the Sun's album, still a 10 out of 10. I go back to that album on the weekly pretty much, but Saor was just like, hold my album of the year. The compositions on this album are some of the most meticulously assembled that I have heard in a while. The drums are pummeling and throttling. They are doing a lot in the mix. They are really prominent. The guitars are bone-chilling. They cause a frigid, claustrophobic, tight and dense, foggy atmosphere to this album. The flute that pops in on this album, holy crap, it's amazing. The violins, the strings that pop up on this album go shoulder to shoulder with this flute, go shoulder to shoulder with this instrumentation. The piano that finds its way across a lot of this album is amazing. The vocals remind me kind of that Portal album that dropped last year, Ion, where they are just enveloping the mist in this in the mix in just this monstrously visceral way. But alongside this beautiful instrumentation, it never feels like it's not supposed to be there, and I don't know how he pulled this off. I don't know how that works, because it shouldn't. It never has before for me. But something about this is just hitting me the right way. Forgotten Paths, when it starts off with this raging drum and guitar, pretty much early black metal inspired instrumentation that is starting it off on a blood pumping level, and then it breaks away into a more melodic bit, and it transitions flawlessly into this melodic just plateau where the flute is barrowing over this instrumentation, over this completely black metal instrumentation that has completely transformed into melodic and atmospheric. There are so many bands in this genre, and genres like this, that have tried to experiment with sounds like this. Black metal specifically in the 2000s, and very much so in the 2010s, has tried its very best to incorporate more atmosphere, more moody type of tracks, more spacious tracks, more beautiful tracks, more melodic tracks with atmosphere, and paying much attention to sometimes a patience to what really makes a composition sound pivotal capitally beautiful and pulling at the heartstrings and really getting you in an emotional state and not just trying to blow your head off with speed and ferocity. Through repeating, crushing riffs on this opening track, it never gets boring, and that is one thing. The first 3 tracks are all over 10 minutes long, and my biggest gripe, I wish they were longer, because this instrumentation is lively, and even though it is fairly well produced, it's not so well produced that it doesn't sound organic. It stays completely and totally in its own skin. It feels comfortable. It feels like it is meant to be there, and everything feels like it is mixed to just the right perfection to cause this cohesive bubbling of just these mind-boggling instrumentals that are just happening all over these tracks, and these vocals that come in that are shrill and throaty and raspy and guttural. They envelop this mix. They are like poison. They are like the cyanide that these instrumentals are just drinking up like it's a Sunday night beer. And just when you think the song is over, when the curtains draw, when the lights go dim in the room, it comes back with a vengeance, with this beautifully assembled piano piece that throttles back into this instrumentation that goes in such a beautifully shimmering and glistening sheen of violin and guitar and drum and piano in this amalgamation that is just spiteful but beautiful but malevolent and devilish but absolutely gorgeously assembled and meticulous and intricately placed and intrinsically made. It is so just, it gets you in this mood that you just want to drown in like an ocean. MONADH builds upon that with more gorgeously assembled black metal, piano, violin, flute inspired music. It starts with this dark guitar riff that is so sticky and so infectious in my mind, so simplistic, but it still manages to keep up this foreboding type of, like, you know something's coming, you know what it's probably gonna be, but then you realize when it gets into it that you didn't know what you were in store for. And when the instrumentation breaks up and gets some room to breathe with this beautiful acoustic bit, and then it goes into these down-tuned, fuzzed out, just completely blown out to oblivion guitars, this is one of the most dissonant and noisy parts of the entire album, and I love it. It is so tense, it builds up this momentum and tension, and it makes you feel like, oh my god, what's about to happen? And it's worth it, because in my personal opinion, even though this is an amazing track, it's like reaching into the 10 or 11 minutes, something like that, I can't even remember, even though it's reaching into that length, I think the last leg is actually the most impressive part of the entire song. BRON is just like the other 2 tracks that came before it. It is tense, misty, foreboding, scary, beautiful, gorgeous, it's amazing. It has more acoustic guitars that pop up on this track, and the violins on this track sound amazing. The drums are face-crushingly, just creepily pounding away over these riffs and these acoustic bits and these violins and these vocals that are just enveloping this mix. I know I've said enveloping this mix a lot, but they really are, but not in a way that drowns out the instrumentation. More so, it just sounds like the instrumentation is being played in the throat of this vocalist. It's a viciously bittersweet crescendo. Oh, also, if that wasn't enough, there's bagpipes on the track BRON. Bagpipes. EXILE ends out the album. 4 minutes and 51 seconds. It is beautiful as an ender. It has no vocals on it, and it's sheer instrumental bliss. It is nothing really like the rest of the album, with this nice, beautiful, I believe, harp. I think I'm hearing harp, as well as acoustic guitar that is plucked away, and then this fade-out effect that just fades out with the sound of waves. God, there could not be a better way to end this album. I have been consuming the hell out of this album. I've listened to it at least 6 or 7 times since I first heard it, before this review formulated my review, so if this seems a little bit more in-depth, that's why. I love this album so much. This Swallow the Sun has a contender for a battle at the end of the year at this point, and I'm not gonna say that nothing's gonna happen in the rest of the year, because I'm sure there's gonna be some great albums, maybe even some more 10s. It's very possible, but as of now, Saor created just such mastermind. It is a masterminded album with great instrumentation. It's electrifying. It's fun. It's heartfelt. It's heartbreaking. It evokes emotion like no other album I've heard in a while. And I mean, my last album of the year was a damn neo-folk and dark folk album. I'm a folk boy, what can I say? I like it when people put folk and stuff, but folk and black metal are made to be together. But the fact no one can do it right annoys me. And then Saor came along. Should I do it? What am I saying? You've all read the title. I'm giving this album a 10 out of 10. Feels good. That's a wrap. Thanks for checking out my review of the new Saor album. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you've listened to this album, please listen to this album. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And like the video, smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. And I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morse, Review Guy, and I'm signing off. Farewell.